You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So listen, if it pertains to your potassium level, your magnesium level, your salt, your sugar, okay, I know how to titrate, go up and down. I don't know what to do with the stock market. And so now this is my time to get advice from you all. So I'm going to tell you what I do, and you guys tell me if I'm doing it wrong or if I'm doing it right. So the stock market, obviously the last couple of days, just, exponentially skyrocketing because a lot of the Trump tariff and deal making seems to get investors pretty excited. And so what I noticed for me, and I don't have a lot of stocks. Okay, the very first stock I bought was Pfizer when I was a resident because of Viagra. And I'm like, I bet Pfizer stock's going to go up. And I didn't have a lot of money to invest. I think I had $20 to put into it. I never made a lot of money. And then the stock split. Then I got some shares of that. But, I really wasn't, I never bought Apple or Microsoft. I didn't have the money. I just did it. I had babies and student loans and whatever. So for those of you who did in the 90s and whatever, good for you. Proud of you. So one thing I've noticed is when the stock market goes up and my account is doing better than it ever has because of I've diversified. I bought NVIDIA. I bought some pharmaceutical stocks. I bought like some of the solar. So I did a little of that. And so when a stock goes down and you lose money, like I bought some Baba. Okay, I bought Baba don't laugh. Listen, this is why I did it, okay? One, I don't know anything about stocks, but I bought Alibaba because I like the name, but two, because during COVID, Amazon was going to do well, and everybody said Alibaba was they were saying it was the Chinese equivalent, but I don't know much about the company, which probably is the thing I'm doing wrong. I really should investigate the companies. I did with NVIDIA, so that was a win. But so I bought Alibaba, and I've lost money in Baba because I bought it, I guess, when it was high. Everybody said, Daliah, what you do is you have to buy low and sell high. How the hell do I know when it's low? I've been waiting to buy more NVIDIA and Eli Lilly when it's low. It doesn't go low anymore. I'm trying to wait till Apple and Microsoft goes back to low. It doesn't. So I have a loss. I've lost money with Alibaba. But do I sell it? If I sell it, then that loss is real. If I leave it just where it is in the portfolio, nobody knows. I mean, it's not advertised everywhere. I mean, nobody listens to the show, so you and I are good. Okay? This is a secret just between us. So nobody knows that I lost money on it as long as I don't sell it. If I leave it in there and wait for hopefully it go up again, then, okay. So then somebody could say, well, that's what you do. You only lose the money if you sell the stock, so keep the stock there. Unless, of course, you think the company's going to go bankrupt, then you want to sell it all. But if you don't think it's going to go bankrupt, you leave it because then you're never officially lost because it could go back up. All right. Well, then what do you do with the stocks that are going up? All right. Because I've bought stocks. I bought First Solar during the Biden administration, and that went up really nicely. And then it changed. Now it's up again. So when do you sell? Well, you sell when it's high. How do I know when it's high? What if it keeps going higher? Eli Lilly kept going higher. NVIDIA, Meta, these things are going higher. And so people will say, well, don't sell then because you don't want to miss it going higher. So you don't sell when you lose. You don't sell when you make money. So is that what you're supposed to do? The stocks are supposed to sit? Do I just watch them? Is that what it's about? You just watch it? Maybe that's the whole scam. These companies need you to invest money, but they don't want you to take the money out. So when they trade publicly, you just keep putting money in and they just have this money and you're afraid to pull it out. Now, I don't know. And it's funny because people really have this anxiety. They have the euphoria, like what happened today and yesterday with the stock market. But then they have this anxiety of, okay, well, I don't want to be the idiot that didn't sell when I should have. And so my husband and I are different. My husband's like, well, the stock market's going to crash. So eventually, just sell before it crashes. Like, he's been talking about the stock market crashing for years. And I go, so those people in the 80s that bought Apple and Microsoft, they didn't sell. If they held on to it, then Berkshire Hathaway, whoever held on to that stock did well. So the question I have is, how do I know I don't have one of these 1980s type stock where I got NVIDIA on the ground floor or I got NVIDIA? How do I know? And so the problem I have is you have stocks. I have things I need to pay for. I would like to cash some of these out. So this is what I've been doing. If I bought, let's say, 10 shares, okay, I've told you guys, I'm no financial guru. Never come to me for financial advice. But let's say I have 10 whole shares of something, and I made some decent money on those 10 shares, and I need the money. What I might do is sell 1 or 2 of those shares. So I still technically have my foot in the game. I don't kick myself for selling the stock. Because what a lot of people do is they sell the whole stock. Well, what I do is I'll sell 1 or 2 shares. Now, the problem is I have one stock where I have 2 single shares of, and that stock is doing really, really well. And so I can't sell 2. I might have to sell 1 if I need money. But I don't know. It's crazy. And I guess financial advisors, they always advise you to diversify, which we do. You got your fixed assets, you got your and I don't have a lot because we didn't really start saving. I had a little bit of like a 401k or a 503b. I forgot what I got in residency, but since you're only making about $1 an hour, not much was being put into that when they match. So I only had a little of that, and then I went for years not investing into a financial account because I had babies. I had my father's funeral, my grandmother's funeral. There was always something where I had to pay. And we just never were able to put money away to that degree. And so now here I am, and I'm like, okay, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? So I don't like the idea of, well, don't sell because you'll lose, and don't sell because even if you win, you'll lose. So is it just a lose-lose? So any advice you want to give me, I'm open. 1-877-Doc Daliah, don't go away.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So we are being told that 25% of U.S. children have a parent that suffers from addiction. Does that seem high to you? Does that seem low? I think there are more people with addictions than we realize. But when you look at this study, it's kind of frightening. Because you wonder then if 1 in 4 children have a parent with an addiction. I think the study looked at 19 million children. So that equated to 1 in 4, 25% of the U.S. pediatric population has a parent who suffers from an addiction. Then you wonder if with their generation and their kids, we're going to be looking closer to 50%. So this, I believe, is being reported by NPR. And they say that there's a study that is found in JAMA Pediatrics that a significant number of children have a parent whose addiction is moderate or severe as opposed to mild. Dr. Scott Hanlon, an addiction physician, says he sees this issue all the time. He practices at Massachusetts General. He was not involved in the study, but he said, I was surprised at how high that percentage was. It's just an enormous number of kids that are affected. If 1/4 of kids, he says, are affected, have a parent with a substance use disorder, that tells us that every day in our clinics, we're encountering many, if not dozens of families that are affected by substance use disorders. Now, the data came from the 2023 National Survey on Drug Use and Health. It's a federal survey that estimated the prevalence of substance use and mental health disorders using the DSM-5 Bible of Psychiatry, and the national survey managed by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. But the team in charge of the survey, they said, was let go as part of the recent reduction in force. So they had to, of course, put that in. But the study's main finding, which, by the way, I mean, this just came out, which means they had their staff, when they did the study, looked at substance abuse disorder and the prevalence of it. And so they say children exposed to parental substance use disorder are more likely to develop adverse health outcomes than their peers without parental substance use disorder, including early substance use initiation, substance-related problems, and mental health disorder. Okay, so how many of us had parents who smoked? Now, tobacco is included in substance use disorder, okay? My mom smoked a little. My grandmother smoked. Did that get us into smoking? I thought it was disgusting. I tried my grandma's cigarettes. It never made me cough, but I'm like, I don't look cooler. I don't think I'm going to get any new friends. I don't want to have that breath. I don't want to spend that money. So for me, seeing tobacco in my family was a turnoff. Seeing my dad gamble was I don't want to gamble. There's been studies looking at, if you give a child some alcohol, they'll taste how horrible it is and they won't want to drink it. And studies have debunked that, saying, no, if you give your kids alcohol, they're going to later want alcohol. So I think we're still mixed on that. I don't think any kid should get alcohol, but I do remember when I was 3, and I remember this clearly, my mom was drinking coffee. And I really wanted to have the coffee. I really wanted to taste it. And my mom drank her coffee black. So there was no sugar, no cream. And she's like, you really want coffee? I'm like, yeah, I want coffee. I want coffee. So I was bugging her. So she cooled down some coffee and let me drink it. It was the most disgusting thing. And I've rarely drunk coffee since. So in my own experience, the attractiveness of something that was unknown, once I tried it, I'm like, no big thing, meh. But for some people, if you do have parents that are, always using marijuana or always using, drugs, and the kids see this, they might pick up those behaviors. It's really different strokes for different folks. Like we look at these kids that will go on mass shootings, and people will say, well, it was the video games they played. Yet the average child that plays a video game knows it's a video game. They know that GTA, Grand Theft Auto, is not real life. You don't go and ram people over on sidewalks. That's not something you do. This was a video game. But for some individuals that have mental health issues, they might fantasize about that. They may want to recreate a scene in these video games. I don't think video games lead to it, but if somebody has mental health issues, they might extract certain ideas. Same thing with movies. Jodie Foster did not cause anybody to want to try and assassinate President Ronald Reagan. But you have John Hinckley Jr. with mental illness who thinks that she is going to now notice him because I don't know what her politics were or whatever, but for some reason he thought doing that would get the eye of Jodie Foster and the love of Jodie Foster, whatever and then he tried to assassinate President Ronald Reagan. So when somebody has severe mental illness, anything you say or can or do or have out there, they might jump on. So if you, let's say, live with a family member who has bipolar or is very easily triggered and has anger issues, these kids or these spouses will blame themselves, saying, oh, you know what? I started it. I asked him to pick up the mail. I should have never asked him to pick up the mail. I'm like, what? You can't even ask your loved one to go and get the mail? Well, it turned into a fight, and then it got really bad, and if I never asked him for the mail, it wouldn't have happened. I go, no, that's a problem. If you can't ask somebody to get the mail, there's a problem with that person. And so, we always blame ourselves when we're the ones that made a mess. Same thing with suicide. So I had a friend who committed suicide, and he was going to be moving in with me as a roommate because my roommate was going to study abroad. And so I believe I was the last person that might have talked to him. He was supposed to be moving in, I think, later that weekend. And I was watching Melrose Place. So I called him up to ask if he had a VCR. If not, I'll go get a VCR. And he was nice, but he sounded different. And I'm like, look, do you have a VCR? If not, no big deal. I'll go and get one. And he said, no, I have a VCR. So I'll be bringing my VCR. And I'm like, okay, great. Awesome. I didn't see him at work that day. So I was like, all right, so I'll see you tomorrow. Because we worked together. He didn't come in. Then that end of the week, his boss comes to me going, Daliah, have you heard of him? I go, no, he hasn't moved in yet. It was supposed to be this weekend. And it turned out that he had killed himself. And his roommate found him 3 days later just because a smell was coming from his room. And so I go, for months going, it was me. It's because I asked him about the VCR. I shouldn't have troubled. It had nothing to do with the VCR. Okay. Yeah. He probably already had it in his mind. May he rest in peace. And it's a shame. Yeah. And then when you start to look back at some of the things he would say to us, when we all went out, like, oh, life is, such a drag. And, then you start to pick the pieces up, but you can't always blame yourself. So now what do we do with kids who have relatives or family members or parents who are abusing substances or who have an addiction? What about the addictions to shopping? What about porn addictions? What about gambling addictions? These do extend to the kids. They do. Whether it makes them fall into that or they feel like they can't help a parent, so then they feel inadequate. When you have a family member that suffers from something and you can't fix it or you can't help, you feel guilty and you feel to blame for that addiction. Or you feel, like, well, dad has to gamble because he's got to support me. And it's because I have dreams of wanting to go to college. And so he wants to so to me. So you go through that where you blame yourself. Then you start to get upset or depressed or, thinking, and then you're like, well, what do I do? And then sometimes you want to bond with them. And so how do you bond? So, some of the bonding I did with my dad was gambling with him. He's like, well, here, stand next to me. Watch how I do this. And I mean, most of the now he did want, to teach me things like how to fix appliances and things like that. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to learn how to play craps. So some kids will then want to bond with their parent over that addiction. So you really need to be careful. But it's sad that 1 in 4 children struggle with a parent who might not be there for them 100% and then be an adequate parent. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I think it's very exciting. We have a new pope who has now followed Pope Francis. May he rest in peace. The pope is younger, very energetic, but there has been some controversy circulating. And one of my listeners, anonymous, but I'll read what she wrote, says, Doctor, longtime listener here. She goes, I'm really bothered by the new pope criticizing Trump and J.D. Vance in tweets. She says, I'm a staunch Catholic and feel our current president is very benevolent and protecting others with his actions. How do I reconcile these feelings? So one thing I noticed the media do once we had a new pope is rather than there being prayer, there being unity, there being celebration, it was immediately, who did he vote for? Is he Republican or Democrat? And I'm like, are you kidding me? And apparently he's voted in both Republican primaries and Democratic elections. He doesn't seem to be a fan of Trump. He's tweeted. You don't really see a lot of clergy tweet. We had a clergy member who was years ago kind of saying some anti-Trump things during sermons, and people left. And there was some. I even had suggested maybe we kind of lay off the politics because people are coming here for prayer, and I know you think you might be speaking to a bunch of non-Trump fans, but there's a lot of Trump fans, and I don't want to see any more people leave the congregation. Yeah, because again, everybody thinks they're preaching to the choir. And on the other end, I could understand, if you're clergy and you feel like something is wrong and you want to speak out against it, that's your prerogative. But you have individuals who are really, really excited about the new pope, but then they feel and he is now the pope, right? Pope Leo the 14th. If they feel he's in disagreement with something you believe in, now they start to question. Are they questioning their faith, or are they questioning the Pope? And I guess that is hard to reconcile. Now, I look at the Pope as one of the highest of spiritual leaders, who has one of the closest connections to God, and can be a force of unity and a force of strength and love But if the media is going to try to drag him into, okay, we see you don't like, Trump, deporting, gang members, and you don't, then it starts to diminish what, he can do. I know a lot of popes, thank God, spoke out, during Nazi Germany, but there were many, people in religion that didn't, or their voice was squashed. And so, having a religious leader give their opinion on something, that's not unheard of. But I would just recommend to have all the facts, obviously, right? And understand that, if somebody was, I don't know much about Abrigo Garcia, but all I'm hearing is he had apparently a lot of allegations, criminal allegations. And so, we're not going to have a very perfect presidency. And asking the Pope to now take sides and to either backtrack on prior tweets or double down on prior tweets, I don't think at this point is appropriate. I think what he needs to do is take a step back from American politics, because he is now a world leader, and to immediately try and unify the Catholic community and the religious communities and be there as a source of hope and strength. But if they start to weigh in on, on certain, political ideologies, they're going to alienate people. And so, the thing is I really do think you can love and honor and respect somebody who has different political beliefs. And how I have come to realize that, because I went through that too. I'm like, how are two people not seeing the same thing? How are you not seeing a porous border is bad? How are you not seeing, the waste, fraud, and abuse as, not waste, fraud, and abuse? I mean, how are you not seeing this? It does rattle you. Doctors being conflicted on doctors are split down the middle with these, and you're like, I don't understand. Obamacare ruined the healthcare system. How do you not see that? Well, it's because where is everybody's perspective? Medicaid got expanded, never sunsetted. It was because there was a big bad recession that went on until 2015. So Medicaid had to be expanded. We thought that was good. But then, okay, now that you could get back to work, get back to work. So you don't need Medicaid. People didn't go off Medicaid. You would think that would be, all right, well, let's try to help these people get to work so they don't have to be on the government dime. But no, doctors are like, oh, no, look at what they're doing. They're going to cut Medicaid. They got to cut, wait, we're spending a lot. 1 in 4 Americans are on it. Why? Can we maybe turn that into actual medical care? So people don't always agree. But I could love my brother, my sister, whoever, is out there that has a different ideology as I, because that's what we do. That's what God teaches us. 2 Jews, 2 Catholics, 2 Mormons don't worship the exact same. There's always nuances. And so we do learn to love and honor and respect those who have different beliefs. It's hard to love somebody whose belief, includes killing and raping and maiming like Hamas does. So, the Pope needs to, be a beacon of righteous, right? And of hope and of unity, calling out what Hamas did, calling for hostages to come home, maybe, helping with those negotiations, providing spiritual respite for those families that are still waiting for their hostages or the bodies to be delivered back. I mean, those are things that, could be in the Pope's purview. But, is he going to get involved with tariffs? Is he going to get involved with, I don't think that's his job. I don't think he should. But the media wants that. The media is always looking for divide, or the powers that be, whoever is running all this, push for a civil war in America to divide. Okay, they're always looking for things to divide. Now I love sports. Okay, now I mean seeing Green Bay, give some crap, throw some shade to the Chicago Bears. Now I liked the Bears in the '80s, but I'm a Cowboys fan, so I don't really care about either team. But people love rivalry. Rivalries are fine, but that's not what the powers that be want. They really want divide. They want you to hate one side or the other. And now I'm seeing article after article trying to show that the Pope is on one side and not the other. Do you think the Pope needs this right now? Yeah, he put some tweets out there. I believe his brother is MAGA, while he's not. But, we're all allowed, to have our own political opinions. It's just, he didn't know he was going to become the Pope. So when he put those out there, or maybe he did want, to eventually, if he did become Pope, be able to be a beacon for liberalism or something. I don't know. But it shouldn't be hard to reconcile these feelings if you understand and appreciate that their job, it's like people, say, well, God, I need a doctor who's liberal, or I need a doctor who's Republican. You need a doctor who's a good doctor. We need a Pope who's a good Pope. We're not always going to find somebody that agrees with everything we do. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I was extremely excited yesterday by the executive order by Trump saying, look, you're not going to charge us more for drugs. We're going to pay what the cheapest price other countries are paying and not a cent more. And I was like, hallelujah, praise the Lord. Now, is it going to happen? Will that happen? The way the system works is companies get bargain basement prices, other countries, for drugs, because these pharmaceutical companies are going to make it on the back end. They're going to upcharge Americans to make up for all the other distribution they're doing. It's like when they give away free drugs and samples, right? they're doing that in hopes that they're going to be selling more and making a profit. So when you look at some of these drugs and how expensive they are, all right, I agree. Trump's right. Why is America getting screwed? If Kenya, Sudan, Thailand, France is paying a cheaper price, we pay the same low price. So, is that going to happen? So the president's order calls for the most favored nation's drug pricing, which means the lowest price paid for a drug in other developed countries. That is the price that Americans will pay. Now, developed countries means that, okay, we're not going to get the stuff shipped for free. So we're going to pay what other developed countries pay. But if it's, not, if France is paying cheaper than us or Canada is paying cheaper than us, we get charged that same price. So Trump said some prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices are going to be reduced by immediately by 50 to 80 to 90%. Now, according to Fox News, Katie Dubinsky, a New York pharmacist and founder of CEO of Vitalize, applauded the move, saying, but this will not be simple to accomplish. The executive order doesn't reduce costs immediately. It directs government agencies to start drafting the rules, which could take months. So what are some of the most expensive prescription drugs? Well, according to Fox News, here are the 5 most expensive prescription drugs. Lenmedley. It's atidarsogene autotemcel. It's by Orchard Therapeutics, and it is a multi-million-dollar prescription. It's treating metachromatic leukodystrophy, which is a rare genetic disorder that damages the nervous system. It's given once, and it's supposed to stop or slow the disease in young kids. But its cost for Americans, $4.25 million. Hemgenix, and I apologize about the pronunciation, etranosogene dezaparvovec, DRLB. $3.5 million. It is prescribed for people with hemophilia B, a bleeding disorder. It's a one-time treatment, according to pharmacist Dubinsky, that helps the body make its own clotting factor. It's fantastic. We have these medications. So then patients don't have to have regular infusions. A one-time treatment, $3.5 million. Elevidys, delangistrogene moxeparvovec by Sarepta Therapeutics is $3.2 million. This is a prescription medication that treats Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's intended for young boys to prevent their muscles weakening over time. It aims to slow down how fast the disease progresses. Number 4 is Skysona. This is elevaldogene autotemcel, by Bluebird Bio, $3 million. This medication treats cerebral adrenoleukodystrophy. It's a brain disease that does happen in boys. I don't know much about it. I've never had a patient with adrenoleukodystrophy, but apparently this therapy slows the damage before symptoms get worse. The 5th most expensive drug is for beta thalassemia. It's called Zynteglo, $2.8 billion. For people with severe beta thalassemia, their hemoglobin does not necessarily propagate the oxygen well like it should, so individuals require regular transfusions. This is gene therapy to help patients make healthy red blood cells on their own and reduce the need for multiple treatments. So for those of you going, well, maybe my Ozempic will, immediately drop to $5.40 a month. There's some bigger, badder drugs that still need dropping. So Keytruda is expensive. It's an immunotherapy medication used to treat a variety of cancers. It's amazing. Treats melanoma, non-cell small lung cancer, liver cancer, and it's pretty expensive. Apixaban, which we use to thin blood. We use that to prevent blood clots and to treat deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism. Ozempic that we use for type 2 diabetes, now we're using also for weight loss. Now, that's costing people an average of $1,000 a month. If they get insurance to cover it, it's less. But still expensive. Humira. Humira is expensive. It's one of the highest grossing drugs in history, generating $200 billion during its exclusivity period. It's an injectable medication we use for rheumatoid arthritis. It does fantastic. Biktarvy is an HIV treatment. It includes 3 medications that help distribute the antiviral and help stop replication of HIV. It's huge, but expensive. So to lower these medications is going to then, because think about it, if an insurance company has to pay a multi-million-dollar prescription for somebody without charging them millions of dollars, they got to get it on the back end. That's the way our system works. You know, these companies say, look at all the free food we give out. Well, you're giving out free food because you're charging $20 salads. You know, we appreciate all the charity you're doing, but you're sticking it to the customer. So if an insurance company has to pay a boatload of money for one sick patient, they need healthy patients not relying on their payouts, continually putting money in. And that's why things change so drastically, because with the, even though I supported that pre-existing conditions get covered by insurance, most people are like, well, now I don't have to pay the crappy rates that are now skyrocketing with Obamacare. I'll just wait till I need it. So a lot of people don't have health insurance. Well, if people aren't paying into health insurance, whoever is paying has to pay the extra rates. You know, people were always asked, I look at the doctor bill. Why is the hospital bill $50,000? Are they really expecting patients to pay $50,000? They're like, no, they're expecting patients to pay $0, because the majority of patients that they're seeing these days don't pay, but they are hoping that somebody is going to be good enough to pay so that they could live on that money to cover for the people that don't pay. So when we have a system where some pay for everybody else, which we need if you're disabled, if you're older, you know, if you're, you know, one of the very few that's inflicted that can't work. But look at where we are, a quarter of the U.S. on Medicaid. And they aren't disabled because those with disability go on Medicare. Why aren't they working? Why do they need government Medicaid? Why is insurance so gosh darn expensive? Then repeal and replace Obamacare. But we have a system where these companies can only do the cheaper costs if they're able to stick it to other people. And Trump finally said, oh, you're not going to stick it to us? Now, I don't want any of these pharmaceutical companies to go under because we need these drugs. It's amazing the drugs they have. But what they're now going to have to do is to go to France, Germany, Thailand, China, and say, you guys are going to have to pay a little bit more to cover what America is not going to pay. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.